Folks, Project 2025 is the biggest attack on our system of government and our personal freedom that has ever been proposed in the history of this country.
And Trump's advisors have created a 900-page blueprint of their agenda for a second term. They call it Project 2025.
I will fight for you, for your family, and your future.
Former President Donald Trump has shared his vision for America's future through his Agenda 47. At the same time, a conservative think tank has introduced Project 2025, a plan to reshape the federal government in the next presidential term. Both ideas aim to bring major changes to how the country is run, but how do they compare? In this video, we will explore the similarities and differences and what these plans could mean for the United States. Let's dive in. The origin and evolution of Project 2025. Project 2025 is a policy proposal born out of a conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, back in April 2022. This initiative, though associated with Donald Trump, was first introduced during Ronald Reagan's presidency in 1981 to guide future Republican administrations through detailed policy frameworks and personnel management. Essentially, it serves as a blueprint for presidential transitions, detailing everything from policy agendas to a pool of candidates for key governmental roles, along with strategies for the first 180 days in office. The plan behind Project 2025 includes 4 main pillars: a comprehensive policy guide for future Republican presidents, a database to identify potential staff members for key positions, a training program called the Presidential Administration Academy for these candidates, and a playbook for the initial actions of the new administration. This structure is intended to streamline the transition into office, ensuring that a new president can take immediate action without delays or bureaucratic hurdles. In terms of leadership, the project has been spearheaded by former Trump administration officials. Paul Dans, the former chief of staff at the Office of Personnel Management, and Spencer Chrétien, a former special assistant to Trump, have played significant roles in shaping the agenda. Despite its association with Trump's team, the former president has distanced himself from the project, particularly after some of its more radical proposals received backlash from critics. However, key elements of Project 2025 have undeniably overlapped with Trump's political vision. Key proposals in Project 2025. Project 2025's proposals are extensive and cover several key areas, each aimed at remaking how the U.S. government operates. One of the most controversial aspects of the plan is its approach to the federal bureaucracy. The project advocates for placing all federal agencies, including independent ones like the Department of Justice, under direct presidential control. This would allow the president to execute policies more efficiently by cutting through layers of bureaucracy. It envisions significant reforms to agencies like the FBI, suggesting drastic overhauls and reorganization. A central proposal of Project 2025 is to dismantle what is seen as the bloated federal bureaucracy, advocating for cuts to government spending and regulations. This includes calls for the closure of the Department of Education, an idea that Trump has expressed support for in the past. The project also stresses the need to eliminate job protections for government employees, replacing them with political appointees, and advocates for the declassification of government records to expose corruption and inefficiency within the system. On the sensitive issue of abortion, Project 2025 does not propose a direct ban, but suggests measures that would limit access. The document calls for restricting the availability of the abortion pill mifepristone and recommends that abortion laws be devolved to individual states. It further emphasizes the need for data collection on abortion practices and encourages a definition of marriage and family based on biblical principles, reflecting the project's alignment with conservative Christian values. In terms of immigration, Project 2025 mirrors Trump's previous proposals, including an expansion of the border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. It also suggests dismantling the Department of Homeland Security and consolidating immigration enforcement under a more centralized body to strengthen border control. Other immigration reforms in the project include eliminating certain visa categories, increasing fees for immigrants, and fast-tracking visa applications for those who can afford to pay a premium. One of Trump's signature promises, the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants, is also emphasized in Project 2025. Economically, the plan focuses on halting the war on oil and natural gas and cutting funding for renewable energy research. It proposes a more protectionist approach to trade, including increasing tariffs on imports, which aligns with Trump's long-standing stance on trade policy. The project also advocates for a reduction in government-funded research and investment in green technologies, signaling a return to traditional energy sectors. Trump's disavowal of Project 2025. Despite the overlap in policies between Project 2025 and Trump's political agenda, he has repeatedly distanced himself from the 900-page document. He has voiced his disagreement with some of its proposals, particularly those he feels do not align directly with his views or objectives for his administration. Trump has taken to social media platforms like Truth Social to publicly deny any detailed connection to Project 2025, describing some of its ideas as absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Trump's disavowal has sparked confusion, especially among critics who argue that the policies laid out in Project 2025 bear striking similarities to the president's previous positions, particularly on immigration and government reform. However, his disconnection from the project may be a tactical move, intended to avoid being directly associated with proposals that might alienate moderate or independent voters. Trump's vice presidential-elect, J.D. Vance, also weighed in on the matter, suggesting that while Project 2025 might contain ideas Trump supports, it is ultimately the president who will decide on the agenda for his administration. Vance framed the document as merely a collection of proposals put forth by a think tank, rather than a definitive roadmap that Trump is obliged to follow. The emergence of Agenda 47. In contrast to Project 2025, which primarily served as an organizational and policy framework for a future Republican administration, Trump's Agenda 47 is a more explicitly defined political agenda that reflects his vision for the country if he were to win a second term as president. The number 47 in the title likely refers to the possibility of Trump becoming the 47th president of the United States, though this has yet to be confirmed. Unlike Project 2025, which was presented largely as a document aimed at shaping the workings of government, Agenda 47 is a more directly confrontational and populist set of proposals, heavily focusing on issues like immigration, the economy, and education. One of the central themes of Agenda 47 is its continuation of Trump's America First policies, which prioritize national interests over international cooperation. Key to this is a more aggressive stance on immigration. Trump's proposals in this regard are strikingly similar to those outlined in Project 2025, including the promise to build a more fortified border wall and implement the largest deportation program in American history. In addition, his immigration reforms under Agenda 47 would seek to deny undocumented immigrants access to public benefits and end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants, a proposal that has long been a part of Trump's platform. Trump's economic policy under Agenda 47 also reflects his earlier positions. The plan calls for tax cuts, particularly for businesses, to stimulate job creation and economic growth. It also promises a reduction in government spending, particularly on social welfare programs, while advocating for the dismantling of the federal bureaucracy and reducing regulations that businesses face. Education is another key issue in Agenda 47, with Trump promising to end federal involvement in education and pushing for more local control over school curricula. Foreign policy under Agenda 47 is also likely to reflect Trump's America First approach, prioritizing U.S. sovereignty over international agreements and alliances. Trump has expressed a desire to reduce U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts, focusing instead on strengthening the domestic economy and securing American borders. Here are the key points that Trump's Agenda 47 focuses on. Education. One of the most prominent features of Trump's Agenda 47 is his proposed overhaul of the American education system, reflecting a strong conservative stance on issues such as school choice, curriculum, content, and teacher accountability. Trump has called for radical changes to the way schools are run, starting with empowering parents to have more control over school leadership. His proposal includes allowing parents to elect school principals, a move that aims to increase parental involvement in education and make schools more responsive to the needs of local communities. This shift in decision-making power is meant to create a more tailored educational experience, one that aligns with the values and priorities of the families it serves. In addition to empowering parents, Trump's proposals also target the teaching of specific content in schools. He has been an outspoken critic of what he sees as a liberal bias in education, particularly concerning the teaching of critical race theory, CRT. As part of his agenda, he has vowed to cut federal funding to any school that teaches CRT, a controversial academic framework that examines how race and power intersect in society. This proposal has been widely debated, as critics argue that it could undermine efforts to promote diversity and inclusivity in education, while supporters believe it is necessary to combat what they see as ideological overreach in the classroom. Trump has also called for an end to teacher tenure, which provides job security to teachers after a certain number of years of service. By eliminating tenure, Trump hopes to hold educators more accountable for their performance and create a system where teachers are more directly evaluated based on their effectiveness in the classroom. Alongside this, he has proposed the creation of a new credentialing body that would certify only those teachers who embrace patriotic values, reflecting his desire to promote conservative values in education. Another key aspect of Trump's education policy is his support for school choice. School choice policies aim to give parents more options in where their children go to school, whether it be public, private, or charter schools. Trump's agenda advocates for policies that would make it easier for families to choose the best educational setting for their children, allowing greater flexibility and competition among schools. Additionally, he has endorsed the idea of arming teachers, suggesting that districts that allow teachers to carry concealed firearms should be supported, positioning this as a way to enhance safety in schools. At the university level, Trump has proposed a major overhaul of the college accreditation system, which would impose new standards aligned with conservative values. These changes would affect how colleges and universities are evaluated, and could lead to a shift in funding and support based on adherence to these new principles. Trump also advocates for a free, online American academy that would offer tuition-free degrees, particularly targeting students who may otherwise be unable to afford higher education. To fund this initiative, Trump proposes fining colleges and universities accused of discrimination, using these funds to support the creation of the academy. Climate policy. Trump's climate policy and Agenda 47 is a direct reversal of many of the initiatives implemented under the Biden administration, particularly the Paris Climate Agreement and the push for renewable energy. Trump has vowed to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement once again, a commitment that reflects his belief that such international accords are detrimental to U.S. economic interests. He argues that the agreement places unfair restrictions on American industries, particularly in sectors like oil, gas, and coal, which are vital to the U.S. economy. In addition to exiting the Paris Agreement, Trump's agenda calls for rolling back restrictions on the oil and gas industries that were put in place by the Biden administration. This includes ending incentives for electric vehicles, a policy that is part of the broader push for increasing oil and gas production in the U.S. Trump's stance is clear. He believes that traditional energy sources like oil and gas are essential for economic growth and energy independence, and he has pledged to do everything in his power to scale up production in these sectors. Trump's opposition to renewable energy and his support for traditional energy industries has been a cornerstone of his agenda, even as concerns about climate change continue to grow among the general public. His policies, if enacted, would likely lead to increased fossil fuel extraction and a continued reliance on coal and oil, moving the U.S. away from the clean energy goals set by many other nations. Justice Department. Trump's proposed reforms for the Department of Justice, DOJ, are aimed at ensuring that the department's priorities align with his administration's conservative values. One of the key components of this reform is his plan to appoint 100 U.S. attorneys who would be aligned with his policies, particularly in prosecuting cases that Trump views as critical to preserving law and order. This would give the Trump administration more control over federal legal proceedings and ensure that his political agenda is reflected in the actions of the DOJ. In addition to this, Trump plans to establish a DOJ task force focused on protecting the right to self-defense. This initiative would work to protect citizens' rights to defend themselves and potentially push back against what Trump sees as a growing anti-conservative bias in law schools and law firms. These efforts align with his broader vision of making the justice system more supportive of his political base, while also addressing issues of crime and law enforcement. Crime and immigration. Trump's stance on crime and immigration in Agenda 47 is aggressive and aims to restore what he views as law and order to the United States. His proposals on crime are centered around taking a hard line against drug dealers, gangs, and human traffickers. Trump has suggested using federal troops in cities and regions where local law enforcement is refusing to act or is unable to maintain order. This approach reflects Trump's belief in a more centralized and forceful response to crime, particularly in urban areas with high crime rates. On immigration, Trump's policies in Agenda 47 closely mirror those he championed during his first term in office. He has vowed to reinstate a travel ban for certain countries, particularly those with high levels of terrorism, and to implement stricter vetting procedures for immigrants coming to the U.S. He also plans to end birthright citizenship for children born to undocumented immigrants, a controversial measure that would change the way the U.S. interprets its constitution. Trump's immigration plan also includes a nationwide ban on catch-and-release policies, which he argues allow dangerous individuals to enter the country and remain there. His proposed measures would also prevent undocumented immigrants from accessing public benefits, such as healthcare and welfare, further discouraging illegal immigration. Additionally, he has promised to implement extreme vetting for refugees and suspend their admission into the country, ensuring that only those who pass a rigorous background check are allowed to enter. Economic policy. Trump's economic proposals under Agenda 47 are geared toward revitalizing American manufacturing and reducing the trade imbalances that he believes have hurt U.S. industries. One of his key strategies is to impose baseline tariffs on imported goods, with higher rates for countries that engage in what Trump sees as unfair trade practices. These tariffs would aim to level the playing field for American businesses and protect domestic jobs from being undercut by cheaper foreign labor. Another major aspect of Trump's economic plan is to cut corporate taxes from 21% to 15%. This tax cut is designed to stimulate business investment and job creation by allowing companies to retain more of their earnings. Additionally, Trump's plan includes tax cuts for the working class, specifically targeting tips and overtime wages, which would provide relief for American workers and boost consumer spending. Trump has also emphasized the need to prioritize American-made products in federal purchasing, particularly in sectors like healthcare. His plan calls for federal agencies to buy American-made medicines and equipment whenever possible, which would create new demand for U.S.-based manufacturers and reduce reliance on foreign goods. Foreign policy. On the global stage, Trump's foreign policy and Agenda 47 continues his America First approach, which places the interests of the U.S. above those of its allies. One of the most striking aspects of his foreign policy agenda is his demand that Europe pay back the U.S. for depleting its military stockpiles by sending weapons to Ukraine. This proposal reflects Trump's skepticism of international alliances and his belief that the U.S. should not bear the burden of global security alone. Trump's stance on China is also notably hardline. He has called for new restrictions on Chinese-owned infrastructure in the U.S., citing national security concerns. Additionally, he has vowed to build a missile defense shield to protect the U.S. from potential threats from countries like China and Russia. Differences between Project 2025 and Agenda 47. Let's compare the key differences between these two projects. Though both Project 2025 and Agenda 47 share certain policy goals, particularly around immigration reform and government restructuring, there are notable differences between the two. Project 2025 is primarily an institutional framework designed to reform the inner workings of government. It is a collective effort spearheaded by the Heritage Foundation and other conservative think tanks, offering a comprehensive guide to reshaping federal administration. The focus here is on the mechanics of governance, streamlining bureaucracy, centralizing authority under presidential control, and restructuring agencies like the Department of Justice and the Department of Education. By proposing a detailed personnel database and a specialized training academy, Project 2025 emphasizes creating a pipeline of conservative-minded officials ready to implement its vision. This level of institutional planning reflects its broader aim of preparing a Republican president, regardless of who occupies the role, to execute these strategies effectively. On the other hand, Agenda 47 is deeply personal and unmistakably tied to Donald Trump's political identity. It reflects his populist style and prioritizes bold, headline-grabbing proposals that resonate with his voter base. Where Project 2025 delves into technical governance reforms, Agenda 47 focuses on outward policies, such as immigration, foreign relations, and economic strategy. Trump's vision includes tangible actions like constructing a fortified border wall, imposing tariffs on imports, and withdrawing from international agreements. These proposals underscore his America First philosophy, which emphasizes national sovereignty and reducing global entanglements. Another key difference lies in their presentation and purpose. Project 2025 is a collaborative effort meant to serve as a roadmap for any conservative administration, detached from specific personalities. Its proposals, though ambitious, are presented as institutional reforms rather than overtly political maneuvers. In contrast, Agenda 47 is explicitly political, tailored to Trump's campaign narrative, and crafted to highlight his leadership. The name itself, Agenda 47, hints at his ambition to become the 47th president, making it less about a universal Republican vision and more about Trump's brand of governance. Additionally, Trump's disavowal of Project 2025 further illustrates the divergence. While certain aspects of the project align with his policies, Trump has distanced himself from its more radical proposals, such as extreme bureaucratic overhauls or restructuring independent agencies. By doing so, he positions Agenda 47 as a plan grounded in practical action and personal accountability rather than the collective theorizing of think tanks. This move also allows him to maintain flexibility, sidestepping elements that might alienate moderates while doubling down on policies that energize his base. What are your thoughts on this topic? Let me know. And if you want to explore more controversial topics, be sure to watch my other videos. Thanks for watching.